See keeps driving us through the centuries to figure out what learning is. And in this gap, which psychology, through its theory of learning, philosophy, trying to understand the nature of learning, throughout the centuries, philosophers, psychologists, sociologists have tried to explain it, but still there is some gap available, and that gap enables all of us to, come to this field with some fresh questions and try to understand this. So, I work in a government setup, and irrespective of the setup, always when we are in the school, the question that what learning is, that strikes us. And then there are certain, popular statements that we hear from different books or thinkers. So one popular sentence I heard from John Dewey, and he writes in his book, Democracy and Education, that if one cannot claim that he has sold something if someone has not bought it, we cannot claim that we have taught if someone has not learned it. So it was fascinating for me that how he has explained it with such greater clarity. But once we are in the school classroom, this is not how it happens. Even how to ascertain that learning has happened, that is also a question of intense debate. But here I'm coming to present a particular intervention that I made in a particular context that we teachers generally share in our classrooms, that these days children are not able to write. And if they could write something, we are still in a situation to make them pass in the examination. But if they are not writing, and a similar concern I see sharing by the teachers, mathematics teachers, English teachers, science teacher, social science teacher, that we could, give more marks to the children if they could have written it. So they are not able to write. So that's a common concern most teachers share across the schools, private, government. So that's the kind of common concern. Even I hear it from the college teachers also. So I decided that if children has to learn how to write, we should give them some practice. And like any other skill, whether walking, running, cycling, it all comes when we practice it. So I introduced a practice that you write every day. So I was in a classroom and I asked the students that, can you write a page for me? The next question was, give us the topic. But that's how we introduce writing. Give me the topic and I will write. Well, I just paused for a moment and said, no, I'm not going to give you the topic. Because on the name of writing, they have the habit of, write on Independence Day, what if I am the Prime Minister, and the kind of topics which is given. My interest was that if they can write independently, then what to write. I decided that the thinking should start right from here, what to write. So I did not provide them any topic, and I simply instructed that I am interested that you write a page and you try that it's originally written, because of the name of writing, which I have explored in my PhD work. In most of our schools, we promote a copy culture. What children writing is basically copying from the blackboard or the paragraphs marked by the teacher from the textbook, or they have memorized some answers and they put it down again. So in the best form, children's writing in the school is the copying basically. And that I wanted to discontinue, that I am interested in writing, you write anything that is original. So the question was, in the beginning, what? So I said, fine, you can put down the conversation you have with your friends, the movies you might have watched, the stories you might have heard, and even, the songs that you might have heard, so anything to begin with. I'm interested that you write a piece, and you write regularly, and you write originally, and I will only read what you write when you come to me. That's if you wish to read it. I will not force you. I will glance through that you have written a page, but I won't force you to make me. So this is how the journey begins. Gradually, a couple of students very hesitatingly come to me, keeping the notebook behind. Sir, I have written, but there's a lot of mistake. So generally, children, even adult, presenting or writing to your professors, it's a very terrifying job. So, but when I started reading a couple of their write-ups and the comment, that was perhaps for the first time in the classroom, which made a huge difference. And I was surprised that the kind of ideas they were presenting, the discriminatory practices they faced, on the line of gender in schools or in the family, and on various different topics they started writing. So for the first time for the children, it was that I am not commenting on their grammatical errors. Rather, I am capturing the idea, and since I was teaching social science, I was also able to connect it with what the curriculum and syllabus is talking about. So if curriculum is talking about gender, the children has created enough material on gender. And that I was discussing. I was not discussing what was there in the textbook. I knew that it can be mapped. So on various different topics they started writing. What happened now, that earlier in my classroom, it used to be one textbook, the authoritative textbook. Now 40 children were creating that resource. So 40 plus 1. So simply odd number. The textbook was odd number. It was the 40 students who started creating the resources, the variety of resources, and I started discussing that. Gradually, 6 months, 7 months, I found it was something phenomenal going on, in a sense that I was discussing a particular write-up from a child in the classroom. Sometime I was taking those write-ups to the other colleagues, sometimes to school assembly, that even I didn't believe, sometimes when you are in teaching, even you don't believe that this is how this 10-year-old, 12-year-old can write like this. So then you go to the other colleagues and show them that look what this child has said. So that has started happening. But even today, like if you have written something, it got published, and there's a sense of ownership that you have created, contributed in the production of knowledge. Perhaps this is the finest form of joy, right? Compared to possessing things, the creation of knowledge. So that feeling, was taking place in the classroom. That children were writing, their write-ups were discussed in the classroom, and they started getting the sense that they are contributing in the knowledge-making process. So what we used to understand as child-centric learning, and I have written in that it's a highly misunderstood word. On the child-centric learning, we often do that to entertain, engage, but actually engaging them in the construction of knowledge. Very less work is around this theme. So this introduction of daily writing practices actually, and it's not just daily writing practices, it is very easy to introduce it. But what matters the most that how we use it. There's a famous psychologist, Howard Gardner. He writes it in sense of reading, that when children read, it is only useful when we also tell them how to use those readings, how to use those things that they read. Similarly, I feel that it applies to children's writing. It is useful when we also tell them how it is used. So their write-ups were used in the classroom in the form of a powerful contribution to the knowledge construction. Through this work, which I hopefully believe that by the next year it will be in the form of a book also available for the larger audience, I propose, because I have actually written my thesis on this, that this can be used as a cross-disciplinary tools. A mathematics teacher can use this, a science teacher can use this. So what the teacher is discussing is actually influencing what children is writing, and what children is writing is actually influencing what teacher is discussing in the classroom. So this could be introduced as a very powerful tool. And one more thing that I would like to add here, that all our knowledge about teaching and learning is basically based on the adult's idea of what learning is. And we generally feel that the children are young, not able to think enough, or not mature enough to influence what the teaching learning should be. But I think the kind of teaching learning we have designed, the schooling system we have created, I feel that if we give more chances to the children, they will be able to perhaps design it better. And what do I mean when I say chances to them? So if thousands of children across these schools starts writing, and now we have a great, machine learning kind of system which can analyze those writers. For the first time, we will be having, the original idea that what children want, what learning is, which kind of pedagogy they want. So they used to write, sometimes that I'm not teaching well, I should change my way. So that they were able to write when they were writing. If you go and ask them, am I teaching well, they will say yes. But when they are writing regularly, they say, no, this you were teaching was not good. So I feel that this is a kind of mechanism which will actually bring them, directly to participate in the knowledge construction and give them the agency that they can directly contribute in the knowledge construction, and we have to trust in them. I will stop here, but just last 1 minute I will take. As long as for women, the men were writing, it was a very different notion. I found a very interesting quote from Simone de Beauvoir, because I'm going to correlate it with children's writing. And Simone writes in her book, The Second Sex, it is not women's inferiority that has determined their historical insignificance. It is their historical insignificance that has doomed them to inferiority. That is about the children. It's not that they cannot write, they cannot contribute in the knowledge construction. It's our negligence to not consider them as matured enough. If we give them the opportunity, they will be able to create, design, influence, perhaps a better education system than what we have designed. Thank you very much.